Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Greetings, engineers, tinkerers, and practical problem solvers. It's time to give yourself a little break from the workbench and come and solve some otherworldly problems with the best and the latest that technology and science have to offer. Welcome to Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's show, we're checking out how transport is changing in light of developing technology. And we're going to take a look at Porsche getting in on some EV action. We're going to look at freight trains going all lecky. And planes are just getting bigger and bigger. And speaking of the future of flight, don't throw out your old food scraps, folks. We need your compost. All that will be explained shortly. And graphene may just be the material of the century. We'll look at how the nanotech-inspired carbon allotrope, if you know what they are, we'll look at how they may be lining our major roadways of the future. All that in good time. First thing is first, though. Please rise to your feet and give a warm round of applause as we welcome Mr. Matthew Dickerson to the microphone. How's your work week been, Matt?
Please don't stand up. It's okay. You can stay seated. It's
we really need I want a soundtrack behind that. Can we just get some sound effects?
Something there. And I'll put myself in the third category of people you introduced, the problem solvers. I just love solving problems, whether it be a simple little thing or a complicated thing, but it's just a great concept of solving problems.
Well, humans are very good at this.
We are, aren't we? It's fantastic. And I've got one this week, which I know I've said it 1,000 times, that I don't like calling scammers clever, but gee, this is ingenious.
Here we go, folks. Yeah, here's a good scam coming your way.
This is one that I just thought, wow, they've really thought about this. So let's just paint the picture. We know we've got some people that try and impersonate someone. For example, with a telephone company, I pretend to be James Eddy and I get them to send me a new phone. I just got a new phone and it was on James Eddy's account. Happy days. You're paying for it. I get to have the phone. So phone companies are a bit of a wake up to that. And one of the things that they do to prevent that is two-factor authentication or two-step verification, 2FA or 2SV, it's often called. So when I ring pretend to be James Eddy, they say, sure, Mr. Eddy, let's just send you a text to your mobile phone and then you read out that number to me. And so then I go, oh, wow, I haven't got James's phone, so my plan falls over. Or let's use the app that phone company A uses to authenticate you because you've got the app on your phone. Have you, sir? Yes, I have. Okay, I'll just make sure that it's really you. So what a great way to stop the scammers taking control of someone else's account or booking up phones on someone's account.
And hopefully save as houses, Matt. You're not going to burn that down, are you?
Oh,
no, here we go.
So here I am, scammer A, and I say, gee, they've got me now. I'm going to have to go and do an honest day's work for an honest day's living.
Good.
No,
well done, scammer A.
But no, scammer B says, I've got a way to get around this, and this is the latest one. So here we go. Scammer A gets together with scammer B. Scammer A rings the customer and says, hi, this is phone company XYZ. We need to just look at your account, or there's been fraud on your account, or we need to check something, whatever story they come up with, a variety of stories. But gee, there's some scammers around. So we better authenticate you using a two-step verification process, a text message or an app on your phone to say that you're really who you say you are. Meanwhile, my good friend Scammer B rings the phone company and says, hi, I'm Billy Bloggs. I need to access my account because I need to buy a new phone. And of course they say, certainly, we'll just send you a text. The text goes to the real customer. The real customer's on the phone to Scammer A. He gives the code to Scammer A. He or she gives the phone to Scammer A, the code to Scammer A. Scammer A gives it to Scammer B. Scammer B tells the phone company.
Slimy, dirty, filthy, disgusting.
What a process. What a process to go through.
Yeah.
But it actually works. I've seen some examples already where people have had phones booked on their account, and that's the process they've gone through. So the lesson from this is when a phone company or any company, not a phone company, any company rings you and says, I need to authenticate you. Can you give me some details? Whether it be a code or any details? The correct answer is no. If I need to talk to you, I'll go and ring a number that I'll get independently because we know some of them set up their own call centres. So I'll give you my number. You can ring me straight back. Oh, gee, that's convenient. Thanks. So no, go to an independent source, get the number and ring the company and say, hi, now I'm happy for you to authenticate me because I've made the contact. You haven't come the other way. What a process.
Yes.
And when
but
I heard that.
not everyone's going to think of that. And
No.
in a moment of weakness, when you're just busy and you're distracted and you're doing something else, and you get a call from X saying, look, we just got to verify something.
Yep.
And you just might think to yourself, oh, okay, got to get this done. All right, okay, blah, blah, blah. And you just go ahead.
That's right. And sometimes it'll be, you're paying too much on your account, sir.
Yeah,
Or we've got a credit to come for
Do
you.
you a favour.
I had a really frustrating one. This is going back a couple of years ago now, where a company rang me and wanted to authenticate me. And I said, I'm not going to authenticate. I'm not going to give you any details. I'm sorry. You've rung me. I don't know who. I'm from company X and here are the details. That's fine, but anyone could find those out. So,
Yes.
Well, can't we just do it now? Now, I was actually needing to deal with that company, but I still didn't trust it because it might have just been, what a great coincidence. I'm waiting for a refund from the tax office and I just got a text about that, whatever it might be.
But talking about these moments of weakness, I've been in that situation and I've gone with it.
Right.
And it turned out to be okay. But it just afterwards, after hanging up, I thought, I
Could have been
could
anyone.
have just given away my life.
And the thing is, you know that when you ring them back, you'll be on the phone for half an hour punching buttons, listening to music, dealing with someone that's maybe not
I was
understanding.
talking to a guy called Michael.
That's right. And you had the person there on the phone. He could help you out there and then. So there's all these
Is there
little
someone
weak
called
points.
Michael there?
That's right. Michael, we don't have a Michael, sorry. So that. I thought that scam was ingenious. I hate it, but I just thought the ingenuity of humans, including scammers, is incredible. What a process to go through.
I hope they burn in hell. All right, okay, folks, we better get rolling with our stories for today. Now, it's a favourite topic here at Tech Talk, bringing Rosie the robot to life to take the pressure of the chores on the domestic front. Well, we'll put this first story into the files of almost, but not quite. Humanoid helpers are robotic, sure enough, but they're not autonomous. They'll fold and pack your laundry, they might even tidy the kitchen, but only if the human with the headset and controller is in a good mood. Matt, here's hope on the horizon, but it's still on the horizon, isn't it? Is there likely to be much of a market for this?
No, it's terrible. You know how keen I am to have a robot walking around our house. You know how I'm going to be so excited the day you turn up and I say, James, I'll just get Rosie to get you a lovely glass of water for our podcast recording.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And I saw this story and I went, you know what? Not too expensive. You can buy it for $30,000 or you can pay $700 a month. I know $30,000 sounds a bit steep, but early adopter, but $700 a month. I'd give it a go for a month, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I kept reading it. It's a humanoid, 1.68 metres tall. That's good. You don't want to be taller than the humans and make them feel a bit inferior.
You've got to have some domination.
Only weighs 30 kilos. It's got synthetic tendons rather than gears, so it won't overpower you necessarily. Finger strength, about the same as a human, so it's not going to grab you by the throat and choke you.
So we haven't built Terminators yet.
No,
Right,
and hopefully there's not a switch on the back that says Terminator mode, normal mode. It's 25 kilos is its limit to how much it can weigh, which is kind of about the sort of normal weight that humans would typically lift without struggling a bit.
Yeah, good on.
And its hands, I thought, which was pretty important, are IP68 rating, so they can do the dishes. That was the important part there. So
Got to get wet hands.
that's right, they've got to be able to get wet.
Yeah, good.
So everything stacked up. When I was reading, I was pretty excited about it. It can do domestic chores. And I saw a video of stacking a dishwasher, folding laundry. I was excited about that, just cleaning the kitchen, general things. But then my excitement took a huge nosedive when I saw that it wasn't autonomous, as you mentioned. It has someone back in the office wearing a VR headset. Not sure why they need a VR headset, but someone else controlling this robot.
Yeah.
So now I've just invited a spy, someone from the outside world,
Someone that you've
into
never
my
seen before
home.
and don't know who they are.
That's right. Now, they talked about they've got this really good vetting process and they monitor people going, but still, I've left the washing and the laundry and I might do a little naked run through the house to grab the undies and I just don't
For
love the idea.
$700 a month.
That's right.
Can you send me a cleaner?
That's right. If someone's going to see me naked running through the house, it might as well be a human in my house.
I wonder
not-
what the advantage of this is. I mean, you need a person. You need to occupy someone to do this, to operate this. So what they're just able to operate or deal with multiple humanoids from their office, maybe.
Well, I wondered about that as well because I thought, okay, well, I'm not using my robot every second of the day, but what about if I want to make my breakfast at breakfast time and the other 50, 20, 10, how many people that one person's
They all want to have
controlling?
breakfast at the same time.
That's right. Sorry, you're in the line. You'll be number 7 in the
And
line.
someone's got laundry to do as well. So
That's right. Oh, yeah, give it half an hour. So I think the idea here is just to help train the robot in normal operation to learn
getting
autonomous
some
operation.
practice.
And if they want to do that, I'm happy for them to do that in their simulated kitchen or simulated house.
Yes.
Not in my house with someone looking in at everything I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a real privacy zealot, but I just thought that one was going a bit too far in terms of inviting
So
someone
we're
to my
calling
house.
this one a scam as well? No, sorry. Back up.
Well,
back up.
well, but what happens if someone's sitting at the other end? I say, "Oh, here's my password to my wife, for example, or here's my code I just got for two-factor authentication," and the person at the other end, "Oh, we vetted those people, but gee, one must have got through the cracks. Oh, whoops, that was my life you just impacted." So I'm still waiting. Basically, is the bottom line from all
Yes,
that.
Rosie the robot, not here yet. Almost, but not quite. Now, no surprises, the EV sphere has blown the new car market wide open now. Most well-known brands are on board with at least one all-electric model in their catalogue, while some remain under the veil of the hybrid, lacking the intestinal fortitude to go all in. More or all-electric models from more brands means more competition, though, folks. Whether it be about high-performance acceleration and top speeds, or about range, or about carrying capacity. New models are hitting the market in response to the demand, and it's an exciting space to watch indeed. So, Matt, now that Porsche has an EV luxury SUV model out, how's that all shaping up for them?
I actually think there's a real challenge here for the Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari type cars.
We already know Ferrari's going electric.
They are. But the thing used to be with those cars was you bought a supercar because you wanted to show off the supercar, but you wanted fast acceleration, and I suppose you want loud noise as well. In fact, I was in a city the other day and I heard this horrendous noise coming from way down the street, and I turned around because it makes you turn around.
And you thought an
of
animal
course,
escaped from the zoo, but it wasn't.
Well, it was. It was almost like that, but it was a Lamborghini coming along, doing about 30 kilometres an hour, mind you, but obviously you wanted to
They're
make
quite
sure.
clearly not meant to go that slowly, otherwise they wouldn't make that noise.
Well, perhaps, or maybe the person driving just wanted to show off that Lamborghini. But those cars used to say, we're supercars, look at the performance. I think it used to be 4 seconds or 4.5 seconds to 100 kilometres an hour was the kind of a test of a supercar.
Yeah.
But now that every car, I've got 2 cars in my garage that do that. You've got a car sitting at your place that does that. So now that every car does that, what a Porsche and Ferrari.
Shall we say every car, every electric car?
Sorry, my apologies. All these EVs
So
coming out.
anyone else who's driving the ICE cars and their cars are still like getting to 100 in 8 seconds or
That's
something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
That's it. So what do you do if I'm Porsche? Well, I've always had good performance. That's been my thing.
Yeah.
Well, now everyone's got good performance. All these new fang-dangled brands that no one's ever heard of are coming out with the same or better performance than my car. What do I do about it? So what Porsche has done about it, they said, well, we've got to join them. We can't just sit there and say we'll just keep making loud noises with petrol. We'll join them. And so they've brought out, they've announced it'll be out next year, their latest car. But I actually think they fall a bit flat. So they boast about top speed, 250 kilometres an hour. When's the last time you went 250 k's an hour in your car?
Well, if we were living in Germany, it might be a different story. But, we're here in Australia. You're not going over 110 very much.
Even in the Northern Territory, and I've driven an EV in the Northern Territory, and they've got speed signs that say unlimited, but you can still get booked for speeding if the police think you're driving dangerously.
Yeah.
And you would argue some of those roads up there doing 50 k's an hour.
Well, yeah, and I had a friend who pushed his high-performance car on those provisional speed limits. The road's just not designed for it.
It's not.
And then that hot and cold temperatures, it warps a bit. So you bounce all over that road.
Yep.
You're holding on for dear life.
You don't notice it at 100, but at 150, at 180.
Yeah.
So 250 k's an hour, big deal, I say. Acceleration from 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. Now, if I had been talking to you 10 years ago, I'd be going, 3.8 seconds.
Yeah.
Now I go, 3.8.
It's not the 2.5 that
No, that's
Tesla
right. Well,
does.
that was the thing. The first Tesla I had did 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
My little wife's Model 3 runaround does 3.1 seconds. So here's this beautiful Porsche, 3.8 seconds. But there would still be some people who would like to have the Porsche. That's fine. I get that. They are a nice looking car.
Yeah.
They do. And this is where I think maybe they've got to look at what
There's
they
also a
can do
bit of
about it.
prestige with saying, I got a Porsche.
Yeah, you're probably right. And that's
and
still
people
got
pay
something.
for the name too, yeah?
How long will that prestige go for,
I
though?
know.
When your average vehicle
When they're
is
being
an EV.
shown up by everyone else if they're not careful. Yeah.
So they've got a good range, 584 kilometres. So maybe that's one of the things they're saying. Hey, get our car because it's got pretty good range. Some of the EVs out there haven't got that kind of a range. And what I suppose they're trying to do is is still create a bit of a halfway point. So they've got the noise. It'll create the noise for you of a lovely, finely tuned internal combustion engine. Now, I've driven a Jag that did this as well. You could choose, I want to drive a V6 turbo today. No, I'm in the mood for a V8, and I'll choose a V8, but it's inside the cab.
Ah, right.
And I just don't know, and I haven't seen with this Porsche. I couldn't work out from the
You're not turning the heads outside.
Well, that's the thing. If I want to drive my Porsche and be a hero, then I want a loud noise, don't I? I don't want it
I
silently
just think
going
we're
down the
going to
street.
see a whole changing of the guard. It's not going to be about the noise. It'll be about the lights. We need to put lights on these things to flash everywhere and get people's attention that way as you sneak up behind them silently.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. So, look, I love the fact they've come out with it. $160,000. It's harder to justify that kind of money when you see some of the value you get for an EV for half that or less. But what I do like is we've talked about Ferrari, we've talked about now about Porsche, we've talked about some of these high-performance car manufacturers who are now saying, you know what, EV is the way to go. And if that's not a sign, in fact, I was in a taxi the other day and I said to the guy, why haven't you got an EV? Because surely, of all people in the world that drive a vehicle, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, those people that are doing, and I asked this guy, he does about 150,000 Ks a year, the money you would save out of EV over petrol. So they're the most obvious ones to me. And I said, why haven't you got one? He goes, oh, no, I'll never get one of those. And I offered him 20 cents and said, here you go, give me a ring in 2 years' time, you'll be driving an EV. Oh, no, I'll never. But it won't be a choice. In the years to come, you won't walk in and say, do I buy an EV or a petrol? It'll be, which EV do I buy?
Well, mate, it'll become harder to buy petrol, to find petrol stations with the petrol that you want to put in it.
Yep.
They'll become fewer and further between, and you'll be passing these charging stations.
That's right.
But anyway.
Anyway, Porsche's getting there. Fantastic. I love to see more of these performance cars and see how they. It's a challenge for them. There's no doubt about it. It is a big challenge for these high-performance car manufacturers.
As governments around the world continue to look sideways at each other, checking each other's development of their electric infrastructure, there seems to be a greater realisation that sustainable electric options are where everyone is going, and the fossil fuel industry seems to be taking a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. Perhaps the most surprising change is in the shift from diesel trains to electric systems as rail in the UK is starting to get a complete overhaul. Matt, enormous loads and long distances are synonymous with freight rail, are perhaps not the impenetrable roadblocks that sceptics would have us believe, apparently.
So you're a fan of rail?
I actually don't mind rail. Yeah. I don't use it a lot. Out here in the sticks, we kind of, I haven't
Hard
used
to use it for a
passenger.
daily commute, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But
I will say the light rail in Sydney's been fantastic. But we're talking about the heavy rail here.
We are talking about the heavy rail, but I actually think when I see rail sometimes not being used, when I see you go around regional parts of Australia and you see trees growing through the middle of railway lines and you think there was a big commitment by our government of the day, maybe 100 years ago, to build that railway line. Like, that's a big thing. When you say we're going to build a railway line from here to here, it's so specific in its purpose, but I think it does serve a good purpose. So I'm a big fan of rail, and I get a bit sad when I see those railway lines that are just not being used. And then you look on the roads, and the roads are damaged from all these trucks going up and down. It's got to do more damage to those roads with all those heavy trucks. So how can we revive rail? Well, of all the things that we think of for electrification, rail seems to have been forgotten about. And I must admit, when I've done calculations for people over the years, when I've put together papers and various things about electric vehicles, I often talk about the grid and about electrification of vehicles and taking our 1 million cars in Australia and or the 1 million car sales we have in Australia and electrifying those and all these things. And I must admit, I haven't looked at rail. It's kind of slipped my mind. I've been so focused on vehicles. Yeah. But when you think about rail, well, for a start, diesel trains are typically diesel electric. So they're actually running as electric motors on most of those freight trains you see already. They're running diesel, sure, to generate the power to run the motors, because in a huge railway line, like a train and all its carriages there, you want lots of torque because you've got to get that whole big mass moving. So you want torque, and you want torque from zero. Oh, what's going to be good at that? An electric motor. So diesel electric motors have been around for a long time on freight trains. And then we've already got light rail or overhead railway lines or electric railway lines in England. and don't quote me on this, but I think they electrify the actual lines themselves rather than overhead power lines.
I've definitely heard about that. People
Yeah.
talking about not weeing on train tracks and stuff like that.
Well, that's good advice anyway.
There's got to be a reason for that, other than corrosion.
So that's good advice for anyone.
But I'm not familiar. We don't have that in Australia.
No, but we have overhead power
Yeah,
lines,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
we already have electric trains. They're just having power supplied to them. But then when you think about it, you go, well, they're a big, heavy thing anyway. So if you put big, heavy batteries on them, or if you use the lines, oh, hold on, we've got a couple of bits of metal that we could run power down. Gee, when you think about it, electrification makes sense. But some of the issues, and this is where they're seeing the problems over in the UK, they're starting to look at electrification, but the drain on the grid, it's all well and good to say, let's plug in our car and charge it up and off we go.
Yeah, yeah.
But electric trains would use a lot more. Now, again, I don't think it's an insurmountable problem, but it's just something that needs to be addressed. So they are building solar farms that are basically feeding the power directly into the railway network now. So they're trying to get more electricity into the railway network. But they've also done some other clever things, and I love this one. There's a Polish startup that's got an electromagnetic propulsion system. So you don't need a powered train at the front and then hook up carriages. Each actual carriage itself propels itself.
So this is the one of the principles behind maglev trains. So they're not looking to levitate the train; they're just using it for the propulsion.
Correct. That's
which
exactly
is what
right.
maglev trains use as well.
Yeah. But the good part about this is that every carriage has got its own propulsion.
Yeah.
So each carriage could go independently. You might still hook up a bunch of carriages, but you're not then trying to build something that's got a huge amount of power to hook up a bunch of carriages behind it and then drag all that along. Just every individual carriage, if you have 20 of them together or one, it's got its own propulsion because it's not that expensive to actually set up some sort of electromagnetic propulsion system as opposed to building a big diesel electric motor for
And it
one
also
train.
means your whole track doesn't need to be electrified the whole time. You only electrify the sections of track that are required at the moment that it's approaching.
Yeah, well, I had thought
approaching
about
or
as well,
passing.
but-
So you've got the pull and the push.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So
And
that was quite clever, I thought. There's some pilot projects in Germany and India, and they've got just, say, a kilometre or so of track, and they're doing the same sort of thing with magnets interacting with the actual train itself. So we've got some different ways of doing things. And then in the US, there's a company called Parallel Systems, and they're looking at the same concept with individual freight wagons, but they're using batteries. And the good part about that is it's backwards compatible. So you can just go and drop that carriage onto any railway line that has got the right width, and that's a whole other story about the widths of railway lines, but put it onto anyone and it's got batteries on board and it will propel itself along. So I think we're going to see maybe I'm a bit optimistic here, but a bit of a renaissance with the whole idea of rail.
And where better to start than the home of Thomas the Tank Engine?
Why not? The UK, why not? And look, they do have a pretty good railway network in the UK, so
Yeah, for
that
sure.
makes sense. Yeah,
For sure.
So I think there's some future there, but it's going to be maybe a bit of a commitment by some governments, and then I think some people will get on board. So I'm quite excited about it.
Fantastic. Of course, the big problem with fossil fuels is the fact that the carbon sources, which have been buried for millions and billions of years underground, are now being used to release carbon that was locked in them into the atmosphere when they're burned. Now, while it's ideal to find ways of locking carbon out of the carbon cycle, burning fuels are still the only viable option for modes like flight. Now, jet fuel needs longer carbon chains in order to supply enough energy to keep them in flight. We know that. But, Matt, if jets could burn fuel that was created within the carbon cycle and still had enough energy to keep them in the sky, well, that would surely be better than using fossil fuels. Am I right?
So I think you are right. And let's just go back a little bit just to do a bit of science here. So my very basic understanding of how oil has been formed is basically plants or organic material, if you like.
Back to, actually, it's algae from the oceans.
Yeah. So algae, plankton, basically organic materials.
Yep.
And then pressure and
Yes.
heat
And heat.
and time.
Yes.
And that's the issue,
That's
is
it.
the time issue. Because when I say time, I assume we're talking about
We're millions and billions of years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a pretty big time scale. But
Yes.
but the other concepts there, where we've got organic material, heat and pressure, well, we can probably replicate those in the laboratory. And that's exactly what some researchers at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign have done, where they've basically said, we think we can turn food waste into fuel. And of course, the first thing I thought of was Back to the Future Part 2, where you've got Mr. Fusion on the back of the DeLorean, and Doc opens it up, and I think he dropped in a banana peel and a beer can or a bit of beer or something, and closed it up, and there's your 1.21 gigawatts to be able to get to the next realm they wanted to get to, as opposed to the first one in the Back to the Future one. I think it was plutonium power that got him to his 1.21 gigawatts. So,
something like that. You're going into details deeper than I can.
Yeah.
remember.
So anyway, it was a view to the future, of course, but that future that they had where Mr. Fusion existed was 10 years ago in our real time. So we didn't quite make it there, but maybe we're getting there with something like this. So the idea is you take fuel waste, you go through a process. They've got a food process, which is basically a process called hydrothermal liquefaction. And that essentially mimics what has happened in the Earth. It compresses, it gives heat and does all that, but translate the millions of years to a few hours, and you get a type of crude oil or a bio-crude, if you like, and then it's got a few impurities in there, nitrogen, sulfur, oxygen, but you go through a process and you end up with jet fuel that came from food scraps that you can put straight into a jet engine. No changing of the engines, let's make sure we've got this jet here ready with this particular fuel, because that wouldn't lead to some disasters, would it, when you've got different types of jet fuel on an airport?
Yeah, for sure.
And this is all about the SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel. The aviation industry, this is a pretty bold target. The aviation industry says they want to be net zero within 30 years. So that's a fair way to go. Now, we've talked before about electric planes, and they're good for an hour and a half type flights, but not much good if I want to go from Sydney to LA for a 13-hour flight and an hour and a half I've got to recharge somewhere, because there's not much in that ocean spell between Sydney and LA. So this is where...
I wonder how conservative that estimate is. They're sort of projecting 30 years ahead, but that might be brought forward. I mean, we've got a lot of thinking to do in between then and now.
We have, and a lot of changes that need to happen for our planet, obviously. But the other part of this that's interesting is I started thinking about, where am I going to get enough food scrap? So I take my green waste bin and I donate that happily to my local airline.
Yeah.
And they say, thanks, that just got us 30 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever of flight time. So you've got to have somewhere that you can come up with enough food scraps.
The airport. Food courts. There we go. Boom.
That'll power.
Already done. I've solved it. There you go. You got it. They've got to have food waste, surely.
It would be food waste on a large scale.
Whether it's enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but look, there might even be some money in it for people to actually, accumulate their food waste scraps and sell them. Have a garbage collection truck that comes around specifically for food scraps.
Yep, and maybe they've got some processing plants out there that do have waste that is a food processing plant that has waste. And I'm thinking of corn, for example.
Yeah.
You strip the outside off corn, and you do that on a major scale when you're selling corn cobs, and maybe all that green waste there on a volume scale might be enough. Again, I'm only thinking as I talk.
Speculating. Yeah, no. It sounds like good ideas, but there's certainly opportunity there.
Well, the first part is being able to do it. So they think they're at the point now they can do it. They've shown it. They've done it on small scale. It's really just a matter of scaling up with the technology and scaling up with the raw material.
So if you're waiting for your plane to take off at the airport and you're watching some guy on a wing and he's feeding a banana and a can of beer into the wing of the plane, don't stress too much, but stress a little bit.
If I saw it today, maybe just a little bit. In 30 years' time, yeah, sure, no problems at all.
Have you ever watched an eagle with its gloriously huge wingspan I'll say that again and put my teeth back in, effortlessly glide the high heights, riding the thermals with effortless ease? It's something to behold for sure. Now, we know that leaning into nature for inspiration is par for the course for engineers, and I'm certain that it's what engineers behind the Even Star drone have done. It's designed to fly autonomously. I'll say that again as well. I'm having a shocker today. Autonomously at high altitudes without landing for months. The stats on these things are so impressive, Matt.
It is quite incredible. And I actually thought this was done. It was dead. Because companies like Meta and Alphabet, who have got really deep pockets, they've had a crack at this.
Yeah.
And they gave up. And I think the final straw was when Alphabet's Titan crashed about 4 minutes after takeoff in New Mexico. And that's when they went, you know what, we're throwing a lot of money after this, we're giving up. So I thought the whole deal was dead. And the concept sounded good at the time, but it was all over because who else with the size of pockets of Google and Meta or Alphabet and Meta was going to come along and try this same concept? And who else had a huge interest in people being able to access the internet, which is part of the reason they were doing it. So they gave up, and we thought everyone had given up. Well, I thought anyway, everyone had given up. But there's a Seattle-based startup now that's got a new one, and we've got a new weight SI unit.
Oh, here we go, folks. Strap yourself in.
So we've heard this one before, 36.5 metre wingspan, wider than a Boeing 737. So I get that. That's a fair thing to compare it against. But they talk about the whole plane weighs less than an NFL linebacker. So there's a weight measurement I hadn't heard before. And I'm not an expert on NFL.
Standard NFL linebacker.
No, that's the thing. I thought there'd be a bit of variety.
No.
And one of the things you want with a standard is a standard. So what's the standard mass of an NFL linebacker?
Measured to the gram?
Maybe. So it's not that heavy. It's lighter than a large, muscly human. Put it that way.
Okay, all right.
So
fully
maybe,
kitted out with all his padding and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I don't know if the standard weight has a fully kitted out
so
or
many
naked.
questions to be answered.
That's right. This is the problem when you don't have SI units. So I'm going to guess it's around 100, 110 kilos for the entire plane.
Okay.
It can carry, I do know this part, with standard SI units, it can carry 15 kilos. Now, why do I want this? Why do I want a drone that I put up there and leave up there for months at a time? Well, there's a few good reasons I want it. But the way they do it is, first of all, they can fly slow, and you mentioned nature there, so you can have a large wingspan with not a lot of weight, so you're getting a large surface area, of course. We know surface area is the answer to everything, and so you get that plane to stay aloft without much speed. It'll do 24 kilometres an hour and stay aloft.
Wow.
So that's pretty incredible, I thought.
That's like flying a kite.
That is like flying a kite. So it's going along at 24 kilometres an hour, so it's not going very far. You're not trying to get from Sydney to LA in it. You're trying to stay relatively around the same spot.
Yeah.
And then, well, you want it to stay up for a long time, so you can put your plutonium on there, but maybe that's not a great idea if it crashes, but you put solar panels. So you've got all this surface area
right.
for wings, you fill them up with solar panels, and then it's up there in the stratosphere, sitting around, just flying nice and slowly, not needing much power. And, of course, the first thing people say is, well, the sun doesn't shine at night. Well, the sun does shine at night, just on the other side of the planet, but you've got batteries on board as well, obviously. But even still, it would probably be at such a height that it could go maybe a few hours, maybe a total night.
Gliding.
Of just gliding slowly down and down, and then get some more power from the sun the next day. But I imagine that they would stay at about the same height. Now, again, back to why do we want this? Well, we want it for internet access. If you want to try and get internet access into some areas, which is why Alphabet and Meta were so keen on developing it, then building towers in hard-to-reach area, building towers in somewhere that's mountainous, for example, that doesn't have good infrastructure is not a great idea. We've got Starlink now, we've got satellites, low Earth orbit satellites, but they're still spinning at 400 or 500 kilometres above the ground.
Yeah.
Having internet much lower than that, 10, 20 kilometres above the ground, well, that sounds much more attractive. So that'd be the first thing I'd see, the commercial use for it. But you can also monitor weather. We've got weather balloons, but they're kind of a one-off use balloon. You send it up and you sit there and get the measurements from it, and then you send the next one up. But this could monitor information well before we get it at ground level and give us that information on an ongoing basis. Bushfires, wildfires, they call America.
All sorts of disasters.
Monitoring
natural
those.
disasters.
And I've had a fascinating conversation with a gentleman by the name of Captain Rick, a Canadian guy who flies a large plane that drops retardant on to fires. And he talked to me about the process, and they have a thing they call a bird dog. I don't know if that's his terminology or if it's general terminology, but there's a little plane that flies well above the fire, and the bird dog's job is to talk to him, the pilot of the big plane, to say where he needs to go to drop the retardant.
Okay.
So having a drone sitting up there constantly just moving around at 24 kilometres an hour over a bushfire, and presumably the pilot could either have a visual view of that or could have someone telling him exactly where to go, that would be more efficient than a small plane taking up, flying around and telling the large plane what to do. So bushfires, that type of thing, but even just anywhere you needed high resolution coverage. We know we can get good photographs from satellites, but again, 400 kilometres,
Yeah.
10 kilometres, then I'm going to get better resolution out of 10, maybe
I'm
20
thinking
kilometres.
search and rescue as well. One of the issues for search and rescue is they got to go keep landing for fuel and refueling and whatnot.
Exactly right, yeah. So you go out there for a certain length of time. Now, the downside is you're not going to have a person on there, which often happens in search and rescue. But
yeah,
the
but you
good
can
side
have
is
AI and scanners and
you
whatnot.
can have a whole range of technology. In 15 kilos, I can put a lot of technology in 15 kilos. So I can do heat sensors. I can have, as you say, AI cameras looking for people out there.
Yeah, wow.
What can I do about a Malaysian Airlines plane that we can't find? I'm not sure if it's going to help us with that one because it's still well below the ocean. It's not going to help us with those ones. But I just think the technology in this to leave something up in the air for months at a time is quite fascinating. And there are things that we talk about often that I look at and I go, you know what? 10 years ago, you could not have done that. It was hard to do that. You could not have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I'm not convinced that we had the battery technology, the electric motor technology, and the solar panel production of power technology to be able to build this plane. You can build the plane with a big wingspan. That's not the difficult part here, but it's keeping it up there. So keep an eye out for that one. Quite fascinating.
Well done, those clever people. Well, we're still in the air, folks. This time we're talking about one of the big problems in developing 21st century technology is that the scale of everything has seemed to go up and up and up and up and up. Almost as a rule, bigger is better. But of course, that means that parts are often bigger and heavier, and transporting them can be a very time-consuming thing. Heavy on logistics and planning. For example, with wind farms going up all around the world, shipping blades across this planet can be painfully slow and a tricky process. But did I already mention that bigger is better? Matt, just how big is a WindRunner freight aircraft going to be when it comes out of the oven?
You said up and up and up and up and up. I've got a few new standards here for you, SI standards. So this is going to be 108 metres long.
This is a plane that is 108 metres long.
That's right. And it's got a wingspan of 80 metres. So they're the good normal units for you. But to give you an idea, it's, and this is one of the most ridiculous ones I've ever given you, 12 times the cargo space of a Boeing 717 Globemaster 3. Well, I'm not really that familiar with the old Globemaster 3.
I'm just doing the computations in my head. I thought it was much larger than that. But anyway.
So if you're using a plane as the SI unit to give you a plane, it doesn't really make sense. You've got to be a plane
You've got to
expert.
start somewhere, though.
That's right. Now, what you will like is that the area, the cargo space, has got enough volume to fit 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. I knew you'd be happy about that.
There we go. Wow. Okay, so when I need to transport an Olympic-sized swimming pool full of water...
With its water.
Yeah, I know which plane I'm going to be using. It's the WindRunner.
That's right. So 72 tonnes it can handle, a range of 900 kilometres. But why? I suppose the big question is why? Wouldn't you just put a turbine on a ship and send it to where it's got to go? Because ships are pretty big. They're even longer than 100 metres. So they could take it wherever, and then you put it on trucks. And I've seen trucks coming along roads slowly with vehicles at the front and back warning people about this long truck that's coming up.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you do that? But what's happening is they're finding that some of the places they're trying to get wind turbine blades to are remote, maybe even underdeveloped regions. They might have twisty, windy roads. How do I get that wind turbine blade to some of these locations? So the idea of this
Surely
plane...
landing this thing.
Well, that's what I thought too, but they've made this plane. They said that you could land on semi-prepared fields near wind sites. Now, this thing that's 108 metres long, coming along, I've just ploughed the paddock for you. I've got it ready to go. Just land this humongous plane out in the paddock, get the wind turbines out, off you go, take off again, and Bob's your uncle. The image of that, because that was the first thing I thought of. Well, if it's an undeveloped country, windy, all the rest of it, I'm not going to have a big landing strip because I'm going to need a big runway to land it. The idea of a huge wingspan, though, is that not just to carry the weight of the actual plane, but it also is so that they don't need incredibly high speeds to take off as well. So same logic as the last story where you've got those big windspans. But the people building this are working on the fact that they think they can cut energy costs by using this plane, which sounds counterintuitive somewhat because planes are a bit heavy in transport costs, but by getting it rather than ship and road and getting it there quickly, getting these projects built, they can save, they can do the planet good, if you like, from a production of power
That'll
perspective.
be amazing to see if it happens. But
Yeah, that's
this
right.
is an enormous thing. They haven't finished building it yet, have they?
No, that's right.
It
So-
sounds like the spruce goose.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Or is it the spruce moose? I can't remember.
Oh, there was a goose.
But yeah. It's a big plan by Howard Hughes back in the day to have the most enormous plane ever.
Yep.
This rings.
And I think Howard wanted to do it just because he had an ego.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this has actually got a practical reason which might give it more potential to actually come to fruition. And I think the thing is that there's going to be a lot more large wind farms out there. So if you've got that problem, then you need to get your turbines to it. So there's a problem to be solved, and this may well solve the problem. Of course, we know that the bigger we get those turbines as well, the bigger we get those blades, the bigger the towers, the more efficient they are at producing electricity. So there's a commercial reason, and I find that's usually a much better reason than ego to build something that you might need.
So materials science in the current day has become heavily reliant on nanotechnology. Designing new substances from the atomic level is expensive and highly technical, but potentially enormously rewarding. And often it involves just coordinating how atoms combine in ways that they wouldn't normally do so. So take graphene, for example. It's just an arrangement of carbon atoms in sheets that are a single atom thick. So it's super thin, but it's also super strong, and probably a better alternative to bitumen on our roads, Matt.
And you say it's just, and that's
Just. Yeah, something I whipped up.
That's right. It's quite incredible, isn't it? Because when I read about graphene, if a door-to-door salesman came along and said, buy this product because it's a miracle material.
Sound like snake oil.
It does, because it does everything. It improves batteries. We know we're already using it in batteries to improve them. It's good for electronics. It's fantastic there. Drug delivery into a human, I'm talking about legal drugs being delivered into a human, not illegal drugs. Yep. Water filtration, it's used for that. Solar energy and aircraft design. And now we're going to talk about roads. So if someone told me one product was going to help all those things, do you want to buy some shares in a company that produces this product? I'd go, I think you're having a lend of me. I think it's a scam, because no one product could help all those things.
Particularly if the guy's got a wagon out the front and he's got a top hat and a cane and he starts
He just come from
showbiz from like
right.
1820s style.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I do think we've got to get better. I went to a roads congress way back in 2011. Mount Gambier was the roads congress, and there was a bunch of experts, engineers, etc., sitting around. And I went and sat at a table there, and I said, I've just been watching the movie Cars. The kids were watching the Cars cartoon at the time, and of course Doc Hudson in that says that he is, what was the name? It might have been Bessie, and Bessie was the finest road paving machine ever built. And Bessie went along in the cartoon, and there was a crumpled up bit of a mess, and as Bessie drove or got dragged over that, out the other end came beautiful, flat, even bitumen. And they all laughed at me and said, yeah, good joke. And I went, well, I was actually serious. Surely we've got to come up with some better way. And they said, no, we've been building roads for 150 years. We're using the same materials. We know how to make roads and we know the process, and we've got it all nailed. Thanks very much, young fella. Back on your bike, basically. And so I keep looking at roads and how expensive they are and all the preparation work we do. And I think surely we've got to get better at building roads. And the thing that's the real killer for roads is rain. When you get some rain on a road, you only need a tiny crack in the rain, and then you just get it into the bitumen, and then underneath the bitumen, and then you've got a pothole before you know it. Yep, exactly right.
Yep.
So what's graphene going to do? What's this wonder material going to do to help us? Well, there's a stretch of road in the UK that's 2 lanes of road, and they've built one lane with this new product called G-Pave, G-I-P-A-V-E, and another lane with normal, high quality, best they could get bitumen. And they've run that test for a couple of years. So this product's existed for a couple of years. And at the end of that, they've looked at it, and it's in about 20% better condition than the bitumen road right next door to it. Presumably the same amount of traffic on both, maybe allowance for the lanes with different cars, maybe driving on different lanes. But what they've used the graphene for is essentially the glue that holds it all together. So when you put down bitumen, you've got aggregate in the road.
Yeah, that's a blue metal aggregate. Yeah,
something like that. And then you've got the glue, if you like, is the bitumen. The bitumen is what holds all that together.
Which we get from crude oil.
Exactly right. So there's another problem. So when we do all that, that's got a certain amount of resilience to things that happen. When you put some graphene in the mix, in obviously some sort of copyright material or patented material mix they've got, then when you put that in the mix, what they found was when there was any breakdown, it wasn't in the bond between the aggregate, it was usually in the aggregate itself. So,
so the little rocks breaking up.
That's right. So when you think, gee, this is stronger than the rocks, the blue metal rocks that might be in there, that's pretty impressive. So at the moment, it's available commercially. It's not being adopted widely because it's expensive. And you've got to weigh that up, haven't you? You've got to say, I'm going to pay more for it today, but that means I've got another X number of years before I've got to do major repairs or even just fix any potholes. So there's a good long-term plan, but you still got to have the money, whether you're a local council or local government authority that's got to still build the road in the first place. You think it's obvious that you need to build it today to make it a longer road, but you've still got to have the money in your budget to go and do that. But to me, it was just another one of those things where I went, graphene. The more I see on graphene, I am going to buy shares in graphene. I just think there is so much going to be done with it.
Yeah, well, just it's a new miracle substance.
Well, it does, and it seems like that. It's a super material.
Yeah.
And you often say the thing for your kids to get involved with in terms of science is material science.
If
that's
they want
right.
to get rich. If they're in it for the wrong reasons.
That's right. They can be for the right reasons of material science. But when you think about something like this, and look, we've talked about it before, there's 92 naturally occurring elements. And you've got combination of those, but obviously it's not just two elements together. That's all we've got. Obviously you've got a variety of how many of one atom versus another atom, how many you put together, 2, 3, 4, 5 combined, isotopes of those. I don't know we could put a number on the number of ways you could actually arrange.
You can arrange the atoms, but they wouldn't do so normally.
That's right. So with 92 naturally occurring elements, I would say, and I know infinity is an abstract number, but I would say there are infinite ways you could arrange those.
The number
with
would
all
be
those combinations.
so big that it might as well be infinite.
Okay, good, done. I'm happy
How's
with
that
that. Because infinity
But
is one of the things, if you can count to it, it's not infinity. Even if you can count to it in a long period of time, it's not infinity. So it is a miracle product. With roads, sure, let's see what we can use it for there. But I look forward to the next time we talk about graphene for what it's going to be used for next.
Fantastic. Call centres can be so frustrating, often involving long waits, directed by automated voice prompts, worryingly misdirected because the prompts didn't really contain your problem that you wanted to deal with. If you're like me, your exasperation will get the better of you and you'll just hang up completely unsatisfied. I just want to talk to someone who can resolve my problems. I don't want to become Michael Douglas in that 90s thriller, that movie Falling Down, but I think I just might. Matt, how am I going to go if AI takes over call centre operations?
I haven't seen that movie. What happened in that movie?
Oh, that's where he goes. He's in, like, he just loses it. He was in a traffic jam to start off with.
Right.
And things just, his day just keeps getting worse and worse. And he ends up going to a fast food restaurant and they serve him up a burger that he orders. And it's nothing like the picture, and that's it. He just snaps, and they go into lockdown because he gets a shotgun, and it's crazy. He's had a bad day.
Right, so not related to a call centre, but just having a bad day in general.
But you can just feel yourself verging on the snap point. You know,
sometimes when you do talk to AI, and you know it's AI, you know you're having a conversation.
Well, no, I'm the automated voice prompts. You press 1 if you want this, press 2. So they're directing the conversation, and you go through the whole list all the way up to number 8, and you think, none of those are what I want to do. Can I just talk to an operator? Is there an option? No, the phone cuts out.
Human option. And they don't do that because they know everyone would go to the human option.
Bingo. Yeah. Yes, they don't want to have to deal with that.
And it's interesting, in my business over the years, I've never had an automatic call menu system, and I have done that, and it's cost me money because I've had to have people employed to actually answer the phone.
Can I say thank you? Because from a consumer, I just want to talk to a person.
That's right, and I think the thing is, I don't like it, so I figure if I don't like it, then why am I going to impose that on my customers?
Yeah.
So, and over the years, we've had various staff members and various companies say you need an automatic call routing system, not AI managing it. This is even back before the days of AI, but just so you go 1 to sales and 2. And some businesses I know that have that, it goes to the same place no matter which button you press. So it still just goes to the same person. They just want to sound more professional or delay the call. I'm not sure.
Be a little bit more prepared to having some sort of idea about what your problem is.
And when you talk to phone companies, you feel like when I'm the customer, I feel like I've got two heads when I say I don't want automatic call routing. I just want the ability to have people talk to me, and that or talk to a staff member. So I'm not a great fan of that, which seems unusual from a technology perspective. That I love technology, but there is a time for people. But the experts in call centres are now saying about 80% of customer service issues will be resolved by AI, no human involvement whatsoever by the year 2029.
Oh, that's so soon.
It is. And they're pitching that as a way to obviously sell their services and have a whole range of problems. And I understand one part of it. If you've got a particular issue that often happens to your clients in your business, and so you've got someone who you go, we paid Mary today to answer the phone and say the same thing 28 times because we've got people out there who keep clicking on this button or doing whatever. I kind of get where if you've got this standard problem, here's the resolution to it. So I understand why you might have AI answering that, but you've really got to teach AI about every potential problem you might have and then just take the human element out of it a bit. Because sometimes when you ring, because I'm a call centre person and you ring me and you talk to me and I've got experience because I've been doing this for years and I go, that problem, gee, that's an obscure one. Here's what you need to do about that. Because I remember a couple of years ago I had that problem. How are you going to teach AI that?
Well, that's the sort of conversation I want to have with someone. Yeah,
that's right. Or sometimes it's just, look, I think I should go this way with this particular issue, but what do you think? Because you've got all this experience dealing with these issues. So there are times you just want that rather than just having AI. So it's a bit scary. One of the things that I think is a huge change in our dynamics that we have is many companies we know in Australia and probably around the world have outsourced call centre operations to places like India and the Philippines. And I remember being in India years ago, and I spoke to some people there, and they said where they believe their country, as a country, made a very smart decision decades earlier, was they made English a very important part of their curriculum. China didn't.
Yeah.
And so then when they fast forward another decade or so later, then you've got all these people, over 1 billion people in both countries, but all these people in India that can speak English. So from a call centre perspective, if I'm trying to set up a call centre back before AI, then I go India, China, oh, hold on, China, that's no good to me. I'm not going to have enough people that can speak English, whereas India, sure, it might be an accent, but I can still get people there that'll speak English. Philippines is the same, not that they've made a conscious decision, but we outsource a lot to the Philippines. Now, if I'm running call centres with my hundreds of employees, thousands of employees in India, my whole business model is about to be turned upside down by AI. And am I the one best placed to do all that? Well, I've invested in big warehouses and put all this infrastructure in phone systems and had the ability to route through and different companies come up on screen because I'm sure a call centre operator works for multiple companies as such and they've got information for different companies. So I've set up all this infrastructure and now AI is just going to go and do it like that. So, wow, it's interesting. So that'll be fascinating to see where that all plays out.
For sure.
But it'll be fascinating as well whether there's a bit of pushback because we know we've seen some companies who now advertise our call centres are based in Australia because people were getting frustrated with overseas. Will we see call centre or some companies say our call centre is not AI? Is that something that will be an advertising feature for some companies you deal with?
They've got my business already. I don't even know what they're selling, but they got me in. I just don't want to talk to AI or a computer like a prompt. Yeah,
that's right. Now, I think the other fascinating part would be it's cheaper, right? We understand why the drive would be to go to an AI call centre. It's cheaper. But is it? If I'm getting customers frustrated, I'm getting customers pulling their hair out, there's a lot of time being spent on these calls from customers as opposed to a good old-fashioned human, then maybe...
It's more expensive if I pack up my bags and take my business elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. If all the choices are AI, but when that one company comes out and says, talk to us, we're not AI, there's not an AI answering it, look, it'll be a fascinating space, and I suggest you and I will have less hair in 4 years' time because we're pulling more of it out. It's just the dread as well.
less hair anyway, let's face it.
But it's the dread. It's I've got to call the whatever.
I'm going to put that off for as long as I absolutely have
to. That's right. I've got to find something I can do on my computer that means I don't have to concentrate that much on it because I need to listen to the prompt so I don't miss the one that I had to press.
Yeah.
But just be able to sit there and listen to terrible hold music and not miss it when the person finally answers and grab the phone then. So, you've got to brace it. It's not something you do just as a one-off. And sometimes I do it when I'm in the car. I'll go, I'll make that call because I'm in the car. But, of course, luck would have it that you might drop out at the wrong time, or they might ask you
Or
for
you
information.
finish your trip and you've got to now I've got to go actually and do something where I've got to focus and I'm still on hold.
That's right.
And I'm the fifth caller.
Still.
I'm in the queue, but I'm number 5.
Well, you're not in the queue on this podcast, at least. You're straight to the people
Bingo.
here. No AI here.
Service. In an age where technology brings human connections in many forms, from many places around the world, AI producers are now looking at new ways to get in on the act. Whether or not developing relationships with AI is a healthy thing, that's a debate for another time and place. What we are seeing, though, for better or for worse, are more and more options for people to connect with technology, mentally, emotionally, etc. So let us introduce you to LOOI, the desktop robot, Matt.
I just think people will work out lots of ways to cash in on a trend. We've got ChatGPT. We've talked about that. You can have your conversations via text with Chat. You can even talk to Chat. Sometimes I'm in the car and I need to find out something. If I'm going to a meeting and I need to find out some information about that particular company, I'll just ask Chat for it. Might even get it right sometimes, the answer it gives me. But you can have those conversations now. So the company that makes LOOI, it's a company called Tangible Future, and they've basically turned ChatGPT into a desktop robot. So you can have your conversations with your desktop robot, the same as you could with your computer, or you can sit the robot out in the kitchen or in the lounge room. It's just your companion. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't move around. It doesn't make the bed for you.
Sits, and it looks like a robot.
Just a little one, just a little tiny one there.
And it will talk to
It'll
you.
charge your phone. It's got a wireless charger built in.
good, eh?
But basically, it's there for you. And I'm not sure if you address it as LOOI, but it's there for you to just be able to chat to. It'll remember previous conversations. So it's basically like you've got your one session with Chat that stays there forever. So when you keep talking to it, it says, well, last week when you asked me for the weather, then I told you what it was then. I'm going to tell you the same again today. And here's the weather based on whatever. So it's going to
We
remember.
already know that people are getting emotionally invested in connecting with AI bots like ChatGPT,
Yep.
and getting emotionally invested in avatars. This takes it another step further because you've got that little avatar sitting on your desk and he's a cute little robot.
I'm going to scare you here. So you've gone down exactly the path that I was thinking the same as you.
Yeah, people
And
start to really connect with this thing emotionally.
one of the advertising features which scared me a bit when I read this was that LOOI will develop a unique personality profile based on your interactions with LOOI. So what you've just talked about then with a computer screen is one level, but now we're going to have a device that is cute and looks a bit interesting, and now it's going to remember those conversations and develop its personality based on what you do.
Of course, if it fits on your desk, you can take it with you wherever you go as well.
Exactly right.
You can take it out to dinner.
Oh, but imagine your
To a
kids.
movie.
Your kids used to like taking a little cuddly bear or something with them. Now they've got to take LOOI with them to everywhere you go. So it's right. It's one of those things that will develop its personality based on you, your conversational style, the questions that you ask it, but it will remember those as well, so it will refer back to those. So it's just like having a friend with a great memory, because it'll say 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or you might be asking about, you're about to go and run in some 10K fun run, and I'm sure the next week it'll say, so how'd you go in your 10K fun run? Oh, gee, thanks for asking. Well, actually, away you go. So it just seems incredibly scary, but that's where we're at. That's where it's all coming to.
Yeah. And it's going to become the new norm.
The new norm, it's coming. Having said that, I'm actually thinking about who I could buy this for a Christmas present.
Because you really want to check it out.
I want to play with it a bit first before I hand it over. I assume I can reset the
This is a
personality.
terrible thing. Let's never use it ever again.
That's right.
And that's all we have time for today, folks. Far off in the distance, I can hear the distant sound of a school bell ringing. And holding back a class is just like King Canute holding back the tide. So thanks for another cracking tech talk, Matt.
I'm going to keep researching for robot. I've got to come up with a robot in my home. I've got to keep working on that. This isn't it. The one we talked about at the beginning of the show is not it. But there's got to be someone out there that just think about me. Think about me. Think about my needs.
Yeah, your needs, yes.
And needs is probably a bit over the top. Think about my wants.
Well, thank you for tuning in once again to Tech Talk with Matthew Dixon, ladies and gentlemen. Tech Talk is 99.99% factual, so only 0.01% has been made up on the spot. We'll let you work out which 0.01% that was in the meantime. I'm your host, James Eddy, wishing you a safe and prosperous week ahead. We'll be back in 7 days with another freshly brewed, soothing, warm cup of tech talk to keep you up to date and one step ahead of the Joneses. Don't forget to like us and subscribe to us and bring a friend along for the ride next time even. And we'll see you when we see you.